And a healthy microbiome is roughly about 85 to 90% good bacteria and only about 10 to 15% bad bacteria. We all have some bad bacteria or bad bacteria that potentially can be bad, but they're generally not bad when the good bacteria vastly outnumber the bad bacteria. But when things get out of balance and too many of these bad bacteria are able to multiply, then you get into inflammation in the gut and production, the creation of leaky gut, and there's all sorts of health problems that cascade from that. It's interesting to realize that the cells that line the epithelial tract and the lining of your gastrointestinal tract have the highest rate of turnover of any cells in the human body. And it is estimated that about 10% of our daily energy requirements go to the energy required to constantly renew and turn over cells in the human gastrointestinal tract.
Welcome everybody to episode number 22, the big 2-2. We've reached it. It's unbelievable. We made it to episode 22. Today, we are talking to Mr. Ross Pelton, who's the scientific director for Essential Formulas, which specializes in premium probiotic products. Ross is also a clinical nutritionist, health educator, and author of 12 books. You heard that right, 12 books, folks. In October 1999, Ross was named one of the top 50 most influential pharmacists in America by American Druggist magazine for his work in natural medicine. Ross is also the natural pharmacist, folks. His newest book is titled Rapamycin, mTOR, Autophagy, and Treating mTOR Syndrome, which we're going to definitely touch on today. Ross' personal website, bio, and blog are at naturalpharmacist.net. That's www.naturalpharmacist.net. Mr. Ross Pelton, welcome to your first appearance here on the Healthy Habit Podcast.
Hi there, Dr. Dan. It's really nice to be with you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your Healthy Habit Podcast here. I'll start sharing my screen here.
Absolutely.
And get the slides up here.
So today with Mr. Pelton, we're going to be discussing Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics, which I think definitely since I've been hosting the radio show / the podcast, it's our first time that we're going to dive into Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics. So Ross, the stage is yours. Go ahead and give us a little intro here.
Sure, you bet. On this first slide, I've got the fermentation highlighted, and that's what really makes Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics very unique and very different from all other probiotics. And several years ago, we redesigned our packaging and have these yellow arrows on the front of the packaging, which show probiotics, prebiotics, but right up front, it says postbiotics. So I'll really be emphasizing and explaining what these postbiotics are and what their significance is.
Okay.
This slide is showing the 80-gallon fermentation vats in southern Japan where Dr. Ohhira's probiotics are made. They start out with 12 strains of starter bacteria. They add dozens of different types of organically grown Japanese fruits and vegetables, mushrooms and seaweeds. And then the bacteria get to digest and ferment the components in these foods for 3 years. And at the end of that fermentation time, there are over 500 of these postbiotic metabolites that have been produced. So that's really the unique thing about Dr. Ohhira's. And this slide is showing 10,000-gallon anaerobic fermentation vats. There are two Dr. Ohhira's formulas. The original formula is a 3-year fermentation process that takes place in the blue 80-gallon fermentation vats that were on the previous slide, and you can see a couple of them here on the right-hand image in this slide. But after 3 years, some of the material is transferred to these large 10,000-gallon anaerobic fermentation vats. And this is significant because over 99.9% of the bacteria that reside in the human gastrointestinal tract reside in the colon, and that is an anaerobic environment. So this extra 2 years of anaerobic fermentation has given the anaerobic bacteria time to produce more of the postbiotic metabolites that they're capable of producing. And one thing I like to emphasize is that this external fermentation process that Dr. Ohhira created really mimics the natural fermentation process that takes place in the human colon. So this is a process that really mimics nature. And so this multi-year fermentation process, mimicking nature, it's really designed to do what nature does in the human colon. And when we ingest food, that food can spend up to 72 hours or so in the human digestive tract, and especially in the colon. And so the bacteria in the colon have roughly 72 hours to digest the food components and create these postbiotic metabolites. In Dr. Ohhira's system, the bacteria have 3 to 5 years to be digesting the food and creating these postbiotic metabolites. So it's really a significant, I don't want to say improvement over nature, but it really allows the bacteria time to produce more of these postbiotic metabolites.
Can I chime in real quick with a question, Ross?
Sure, you bet.
When you say postbiotic metabolites, can you quickly summarize that and why, what that is? Or are
Thank
you
you for
getting to
bringing that
that?
up. I need to get an explanation here and what it is and why I'm talking about these compounds. For many, many years, people have intuitively known that probiotic bacteria provide some health benefits, but nobody really understood the mechanism of action.
Mm.
And now I'm kind of on the forefront of helping the global community understand the mechanism of action of probiotic bacteria.
Right.
It turns out that probiotic bacteria's primary job is to digest and ferment compounds in food and turn them into secondary compounds that we call postbiotic metabolites.
Okay.
And it turns out that these postbiotic metabolites are master health regulating compounds that influence and regulate every single organ system in your body, especially your brain and your immune system. So it's far beyond just regulating the gastrointestinal ecosystem and the human gastrointestinal tract. Mm-hmm. These postbiotic metabolites have a wide range of biological activity. They get absorbed into your circulation systemically and go throughout your body and influence all the other organ systems in your body.
Got it.
So I emphasize that there's two pieces of the puzzle. How do probiotic bacteria make these postbiotic metabolites? Well, the probiotic bacteria have to have access to the types of food that they require. And I regularly tell people, if you don't feed your probiotic bacteria well, they will not be able to thrive and survive. The two primary food groups for probiotic bacteria are dietary fibers and polyphenols. And people aren't familiar with the term polyphenols. They are the compounds that are responsible for a lot of the colors in multicolored fruits and vegetables. Over 80,000 polyphenols have been identified structurally. So it's a large class of compounds. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that dietary fibers are not able to be digested by humans. We don't have the enzymes to break down these fibers and digest them. And polyphenols are huge molecules, and most of them are not able to be efficiently digested by humans. And so fibers and polyphenols pass completely through the human digestive tract, but when they reach the colon, they are the food for your probiotic bacteria. And probiotic bacteria have all the enzymes required to start breaking these compounds down and producing smaller compounds that have a wide range of biological activity. So that's what the postbiotic metabolites are, these master health regulating compounds that are created by your probiotic bacteria if you're feeding your probiotic bacteria well. And I'll get into that in a little bit and make some explanation about that. For some extra resources, I say that postbiotic metabolites are the new frontier in microbiome science. And I actually wrote an article for a medical journal titled Postbiotic Metabolites, the New Frontier in Microbiome Science. And if anybody would like to have access to that article, just do a Google search using the terms Pelton, my last name, Townsend, it was published in the Townsend letter, and the term postbiotic. And a second article that I'm very proud of, I recently wrote an article titled The Microbiome Theory of Aging. That was published in a peer-reviewed medical journal, the Integrative Medicine Clinicians Journal, just in January 2023 this year. And people can get that if they go to my blog on my website, naturalpharmacist.net/blog. And the blog is a link at the top of my website.
I'm going to add a note to that, and this is going to be also in the description box under this video, Ross. But so literally the first time since I've been hosting the radio and podcast here that someone's ever mentioned the Townsend letter. I've literally read that article right there that you shared. I have a collection of Townsend letters right here in our
Okay.
medical library. The best magazine ever.
Yeah,
I
they
can't
do a
recommend
great
it enough.
job. Lots of good authors, lots of good articles, lots of good topics about alternative health. So, in my microbiome theory of aging, Dr. Dan, I'm explaining to people when you have microbial imbalance, the sequence of events, the cascade of changes that happen that lead to leaky gut. And there's a whole range of problems that develop when people have leaky gut, tissue injury, organ damage, and acceleration of biological aging. So it's critical that people understand the importance of maintaining a healthy microbial balance in their gut microbiome. And a healthy microbiome is roughly about 85 to 90% good bacteria and only about 10 to 15% bad bacteria. We all have some bad bacteria or bad bacteria that potentially can be bad, but they're generally not bad when the good bacteria vastly outnumber the bad bacteria. But
Okay.
when things get out of balance and too many of these bad bacteria are able to multiply, then you get into inflammation in the gut and production, the creation of leaky gut, and there's all sorts of health problems that cascade from that. On this slide, I'm showing a healthy intestinal tract on the bottom, and the top image shows a highly inflamed intestinal tract. And I'm just going to summarize some of the most well-known activities of various types of postbiotic metabolites. So many of them have anti-inflammatory activity. And if an individual has dysbiosis, they have gut inflammation. You really want to have the anti-inflammatory activity from those postbiotic metabolites. And they directly kill or inhibit the growth of pathogens. Postbiotic metabolites accelerate the growth of healthy new epithelial cells. In this highly inflamed intestinal tract, you want to replace these inflamed cells with healthy new epithelial cells. And the primary energy source to do that is butyric acid, which is one of the primary postbiotic metabolites that are produced. And it's interesting to realize that the cells that line the epithelial tract and the lining of your gastrointestinal tract have the highest rate of turnover of any cells in the human body. And it is estimated that about 10% of our daily energy requirements go to the energy required to constantly renew and turn over cells in the human gastrointestinal tract. Postbiotic metabolites play a major role in rebalancing and maintaining the proper acid-base balance. They reestablish brain communication. They aid in healing leaky gut and intestinal permeability. They help digestion and absorption of nutrients. They enhance your immune system. They detoxify toxins. And just in general, they really help the overall environment in the gastrointestinal tract improve quickly if people have things out of balance. This is just touching the tip of the iceberg on postbiotic metabolites, but you can see they have a wide range of health regulating benefits.
And you mentioned there the new epithelial cells, Ross. They have the highest turnover rate. And is it true that they're extremely thin as well? They're only about one cell layer in thickness.
Exactly. Good point. The lining of the gastrointestinal tract is a layer of cells that is just one cell thick. And so they play a critical role. And on this slide, I'm just getting a little bit deeper into how some of these postbiotic metabolites regulate the microbiome ecosystem. And I talk about the pH scale, which is a measurement of acid-base levels. And 7 is neutral, and as the numbers go down, things get more and more acidic, and as the numbers go up, they get more and more alkaline on the right-hand side. So weakly acidic postbiotic metabolites. There's a number of postbiotic metabolites that have slightly acidic characteristics. The short-chain fatty acids, there's acetic acid, propionic acid, butyric acids, there are nucleic acids, there are organic acids, there are fulvic acids. You can see that all of these postbiotic metabolites have slightly acidic characteristics. And that's what creates the slightly acidic pH in different areas of the human colon. The ascending colon has a pH roughly from 5.4 to 5.9, transverse about 6.2, descending colon 6.6 to 6.7. So these are all just slightly below 7, which is neutral. So they're just slightly, very weakly acidic. And this weakly acidic pH is the optimal acid-base balance to promote the growth of your probiotic, healthy, good, beneficial bacteria, and it suppresses the growth of pathogens. And just another note here, the pH of the human stomach is around 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a logarithmic scale, so every point is a jump in of 10. So if we go, for example, in the stomach, pH of 3 up to, say, a pH of 7, which is neutral or just a little bit higher than the pH in the colon, from 3 to 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. The acidity in the stomach is 10,000 times more acidic than the pH or the acid level in the small intestine. So you can see that this acidity in the human stomach is the front line of your immune system, killing pathogens and virus that get into your stomach and through oral ingestion. And then when people have dysbiosis, when they have a bad microbial balance, too many bad bacteria, they don't have enough of the good bacteria producing these postbiotic metabolites that are slightly acidic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they end up having a pH that's more alkaline. And so if we go from, say, 6.5 to 7.5 to 8.5, that's 10, that's 100. When people have dysbiosis, the acid base level in their colon is anywhere from 10 to 100 times too alkaline. That suppresses the growth of your good bacteria, and it's the favorable environment for the proliferation of bad bacteria. So it's really critical that people understand the importance of maintaining a healthy microbiome that will have a pH level that's slightly acidic.
Interesting. That's fascinating, Ross, because people drink a lot of alkaline water nowadays. And what could
I'm
happen
not
there
a
downstream? A lot of the patients that I see here in the clinic with gut issues, a lot of them, high percentage of them, are drinking a lot of alkaline water and talking all things alkalizing.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right thing to be doing.
Interesting.
And I'll talk a little bit more about why this gets out of balance here in just a few minutes. So the difference between Dr. Ohhira's probiotics and taking a commercial probiotic. On the left-hand side of my screen, if people just take a commercial probiotic, a capsule that has bacteria in it, those bacteria have to first survive transit through the harsh acid environment in the stomach. And then if they survive that, when they reach the colon, they have to locate these dietary fibers and polyphenols. And keep in mind that these bacteria that you're taking in orally ingesting, when they go into a dysbiosis condition in the colon, it's like they're entering a very hostile environment with many bad bacteria. It's kind of like dropping a few soldiers into a battlefield where they're far outnumbered by the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a highly inflamed environment in dysbiosis. And it's like dropping a few firefighters into a raging inferno in a forest fire. It's hard to work effectively in that in type of environment.
Right.
And as I mentioned, it's 10 to 100 times too alkaline. So if the commercial probiotic survives transit through the stomach and they get to the colon and locate fiber-rich foods, then they have to start the process of converting those fibers or those polyphenols into the postbiotic metabolite. That all takes time. When you take Dr. Ohhira's probiotics, you're directly ingesting over 500 of these postbiotic metabolites. You immediately get the beneficial effects of anti-inflammatory activity and reestablishing the acid-base balance and suppressing the growth of pathogens and on and on and on. So this is by far the most effective, fastest way to create beneficial changes in the gastrointestinal ecosystem. Here I have a picture of my 8-minute YouTube video, and people can go online and just Google YouTube Ross salad buzz.
Okay.
What I'm showing people here is how to create a salad that has a wide diversity of different types of plant-based foods. I've got over 16 different vegetables. The lettuce mix I get from my health food grocery store has got 4 different types of lettuce, and then I've got all these different types of vegetables. One of the key things for a healthy microbiome is diversity. We've got 500 to 1,000 different types or different strains of bacteria, and many of them require different types of food. So the only way you can create a diverse microbiome in terms of a diverse range of different bacteria is to ingest a diverse range of dietary fibers and polyphenols. And so this salad, my Salad Buzz, does that for people. But also the secret to my Salad Buzz, I prepare everything at once a week, chop up all my vegetables, and then you squeeze a lemon into this, what I call my Salad Buzz, and toss it up. And the vitamin C in the lemon juice preserves your Salad Buzz for a week. So I put it into a Tupperware in the refrigerator, and 4 or 5 nights a week when my wife and I have our dinner, it's our main salad is our main meal 4 or 5 nights a week. So I pull out a Tupperware with my Salad Buzz. I pull out a bag of lettuce and a handful of lettuce and a handful of Salad Buzz. It takes 2 minutes to make dinner. This is a
Wow.
tremendous time saver for people. And it's also the best way to really support a growing and maintaining a diverse microbiome.
So this is a great way to think
On
of.
YouTube video.
This is a great, and I'm going to link that video in the description box below, Ross. But this is a great way to think of why fiber is so useful. It's literally feeding the bacteria.
Exactly, exactly. So now I'm going to just take a quick little segue and to compare two of the most important microbiome ecosystems on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
One is the Amazon rainforest, and the other is your human gastrointestinal tract, and especially the colon, where 99.9% of your bacteria live. So in the Amazon rainforest, the inhabitants, you've got millions of insects and over 1,000 species of birds and hundreds of mammals and reptiles and trees and plants. And so these are the inhabitants in the Amazon rainforest ecosystem. And the images on the right, you see logging of the forests in the Amazon. Right. So the question I ask here is, what happens to that Amazon rainforest ecosystem when you destroy it like this? You can't just put the inhabitants back into that destroyed ecosystem and expect them to thrive and survive. You can't put the insects and the birds and the mammals back into this destroyed ecosystem. Right. And it's the same with your human gastrointestinal tract. If you have problems in the human gastrointestinal tract with 800 to 1,000 species of bacteria, 100 trillion bacteria, it's not enough to just put bacteria back in. You have to address and repair the whole microbiome ecosystem.
Yep.
And it's the postbiotic metabolites that accomplish this.
Wow.
This book is by Dr. Emeran, who's one of the most respected gastroenterologists and microbiome scientists worldwide. And his book, The Gut Immune Connection, he makes the following statement. Taking the popular and highly advertised shortcut of popping a daily supplement pill containing billions of colony-forming units will not do the job. So this isn't just me, in my opinion, saying that just taking high-dose probiotics isn't the most effective way to elicit change in the gut microbiome. Mm-hmm. Here, Dr. Mayer is making that point. And Americans always think that there's more is better. So many Americans and companies that produce probiotics are competing, saying, mine's got 30 billion, mine got 50 billion, mine's got 100 billion. That's really not doing what people think it will do for them. So here's a big paradigm shift in the microbiome probiotics scientific sector from probiotics to postbiotic metabolites. And here's a study that was published recently, November 22, just a few months ago, probiotics and their health modulatory biomolecules. Those biomolecules are the postbiotic metabolites. And here is a comment that the authors made at the end of their article. There is increasing evidence that the health benefits associated with probiotics are typically derived from metabolites and secreted compounds produced by the live microbes rather than solely the presence of the live microbes themselves. So it's not so much the probiotic bacteria, but the compounds they produce that are regulating your health. And in order to get them to produce correctly the postbiotic metabolites, you have to feed them well.
And we do have 2 minutes here to go, Mr. Pelton. This was an incredible intro into essential formulas in Dr. Ohhira's probiotics, and especially the postbiotic metabolites. That's incredible. We got that whole list of things, why they're so necessary. We can call this maybe the part 1, because I do want to speak to you again soon, Ross, so we can finish this, because people need to know about this.
You
Not
bet.
just what a probiotic is, but why
It's a
Dr. Ohhira's.
revolutionary change in understanding health and the microbiome for sure.
Right. We'll finish off on this note, Ross. I want to hear about your newest book, Rapamycin,
Sure.
mTOR, Autophagy, and Treating mTOR Syndrome. Give us a little snippet of this, what it's about, and we'll wrap it up there.
You bet. Well, rapamycin is the most effective life extension drug that's ever been discovered. It's a natural product. It's something that is produced by a strain of soil bacteria. And it's been FDA approved for a couple of different reasons. It's FDA approved as for people that get kidney transplants because it really, at high doses, it suppresses the immune system. It also has been approved for several types of chemotherapy, but these aren't indications that you would use for people that are interested in life extension. But they have now discovered that if you just take rapamycin once a week, it has tremendous health benefits. And that gets into understanding mTOR and autophagy. And I probably don't have time to get into that deeply, Dr.
Sure.
Dan, but mTOR and autophagy are things that regulate cellular metabolism, health, and the aging process in every cell. And these things are out of balance. And my book gets into explaining why they're out of balance and how you can correct that. Rapamycin corrects it. And intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating are things that will help correct the out-of-balance mTOR autophagy ratio. But I'm actually have proposed the mTOR autophagy theory of aging to explain how important this is and why it works. And this is why rapamycin is such an important drug, because it rebalances the out-of-balance mTOR autophagy relationship or ratio.
No, I'll definitely be showing the website there, naturalpharmacist.net. I'll be directing our viewers and listeners to that source. That was a perfect intro, Ross. And we'll leave it there for today. Where can people find out more?
People can find out more about the products I've talked about, Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics, and another strain or brand of products that we'll talk about on our next episode, which are the Reg Active products, which actually are the best glutathione boosting products on the planet. They can go to essentialformulas.com. Essential
Okay.
Formulas is the company that has the sole rights to import and distribute these products in the United States. Essential Formulas is based in Dallas. Again, their website is essentialformulas.com, and people can find more about me at my website, naturalpharmacist.net.
Amazing. Thank you, Mr. Ross Pelton, for your time. I look forward to our part 2. We'll say coming soon.
Very good. Nice to be with you, Dr.
Thank you.
Dan, and I look forward to session 2 also.